Hey, what's up, guys? It's your favorite knight of faith and infinite renunciation here. Um, and yeah, today I wanted to talk about what I feel to be possibly the most underlooked portion of Kierkegaard's work, which is the fact that he uses pseudonyms for most of his work. And um I've already kind of talked about this early on in my channel. Like, I'm talking like probably 8 months after I started. I did a video about Kierkegaard's pseudonyms and MF Doom, and how we sort of lost that artistic piece of um pseudonymous authorship for artistic work and the things that can be done about that. I'll leave that in the description. But I do want to try to throw my 2 cents in um regarding regarding um how to make sense of his pseudonyms, essentially. And why are so many guys named Johannes? Nah, I'm just joking. But we're gonna talk about that too. So yeah, typically, if you like read the Wikipedia article of Kierkegaard, it'll tell you that nowadays in Kierkegaard scholarship, uh, it's considered that the pseudonyms are genuine reflections of his personal beliefs, which, as someone who has studied these texts at the graduate level, I have a master's degree in liberal arts, which included seminars on a lot of his texts. Um, I want to come in and say that that's kind of more of like a half truth, to be honest. The way I would put it is that um his pseudonyms are aspects of his thought, but they're aspects of his thought fully fleshed out in one direction, or brought to their ultimate conclusion. Um, so, like, for example, let's take the philosophical fragments that was written by Johannes Climacus, right? And if you have the the I know this is in philosophical fragments. This is a concept of anxiety, which was written by Vilius Havniensis, but I can't find my copy of the philosophical fragments right now. But if you have these, sort of standard critical slash scholarly editions of Kierkegaard's text, usually compiled by Edna and Howard Hong, although this one was compiled by Radar Tomte or Thomte. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but um, yeah, usually they include helpful historical backgrounds, and they tell you that, like, Ioannis Climacus, the point of that pseudonym was to sort of serve as the prototype of the ideal Christian, um, which, obviously Kierkegaard, and I think maybe even ironically, because we all know Kierkegaard loves irony, Climacus calls him, he says, I'm not a Christian, right? But everything he says would probably belong to the ideal Christian in the way, he sees the resurrection and stuff like that. But, but yeah, this is what I mean by taken to their full conclusion. Obviously, Kierkegaard was not the perfect Christian. Uh, he didn't claim to be. Um, and I think in the introduction there, it says like, I'm between uh Anti-Climacus, which is actually the writer of this work right here, The Sickness Unto Death, um and Climacus, if I'm remembering correctly, right? So he's in between the one that makes the way for the ideal Christian and the ideal Christian himself. And this also works with the other pseudonyms. Again, I don't have my copy of either or with me right now. But Victor Eremita slash, the editor of either or, they sort of set him up to be maybe not the most reliable of narrators, right? So yeah, he says he finds Judge Williams sections of the text and Ioannis the Aesthetes sections of the text randomly in the drawer of the writing desk. But it's like he ultimately had authority in the quote unquote editing, right? So who really knows? And that's the thing that I love about the pseudonyms, is that he's actually world building, guys. Like, he's actually introducing an element of fiction into the non-fiction uh philosophical text. And it's like, it's not like, Kafka or Dostoevsky, right, where it's explicitly fiction. It's just a story. It's like, it's kind of non-fiction as well because it's actual philosophy, but he like layers in these characters to like blur the lines. And quite honestly, that goes crazy hard. That just goes crazy hard. Let's be honest. It's such a fascinating thing, and the thing is, right? Like, for example, in the concept of anxiety, in one of the footnotes, he literally is talking about a concept, and I remember this as clear as day because when I started reading it like almost 3 years ago for my graduate class, um he was like, yeah, if you want more about this topic, refer back to Ioannis de Silentio, Fear and Trembling, guys. And like, when I read that, guys, I literally laughed out loud because it's like, that's you, bro. You're referring to works from other pseudonyms which you yourself created. And, again, that's extremely humorous. And finally, you have works like these, works of love, which was written under his own real name. And what's interesting, and I know this because I've been reading Kierkegaard for so long, is that you'll start to be able, if you read his work long enough, you'll start to be able to pick out, like, oh, Johannes the Silencio would probably say a phrase like this. Johannes Climacus would probably write something like this. Johannes, the seducer, would probably write something like this. And then, like, you come to a deeper appreciation of his pseudonyms once you see them unified in his own actual person. But the important thing to realize is, again, they're just pieces of his actual thought, which he then takes to their philosophical conclusions, or logical or theological conclusions. And, I think in our age, that's sort of maybe a little confusing, and people get stuck on that part because we're so polarized right now in the West. And we can't even imagine a, a person writing a book, an entire book, or entire books literally, about stuff which he may not agree with, or he may not personally practice. But once again, that's part of the genius of his work, to be honest with you, because he was able to, like, you know, actually take the side of many different um competing streams of thought, even within himself and within others and stuff like that. That's something that should be praised, I think. Thank you very much. Bye.